Well, welcome everybody. Welcome my flamingos to getting started for the last time live. Now, this is the part where I'm supposed to waste a whole bunch of time waiting for everybody to jump on or whatever. But I know how valuable your time is, so I'm going to waste about 2 minutes and then we're just going to hop right to it. My team has let me know that now is the ideal moment to get the housekeeping stuff out of the way. Could you please make sure your microphone is muted? I am going to be taking questions and I can't wait to get to those either, but we're going to save it until the end. Otherwise, we won't have time for the real reason that you're here today. You can drop your questions into the chat and the team is going to compile them so we can move through them after you've gotten the goods. Speaking of that, you're going to get an email with the worksheets and all of the links that we talk about today. If you don't already have the free guide, the link for that will also be included. So please feel free to upvote the questions that you'd really like to see me get to. There are a fair few of us here today, and I think there are going to be a fair few more coming. And I'm going to just try and prioritize things as best as I can. Anything I don't get to, I'm going to answer on the podcast. I'm going to do a special overflow episode where I'll go deeper and cover anything that we can't get to today. And I want to say too, I know how personal this is, and I don't want you to feel like you have to ask your questions publicly, especially when this is being recorded. You don't. You can email me or message me, and I will answer you back, me. And it's not going to be a member of my team. I promise you it will be me. And I know 100% that there are people here today who can vouch for the fact that I really do answer my own messages, all of them. So if you're feeling uncomfortable or like this will be your only chance, it's definitely not. I have serious anxiety and I know I would be sitting there just, like worried about my question and not being able to be fully present with what's going on. And I don't want to make anybody feel that way or have that stress. So you can email me or message me. I want you to feel relaxed tonight. Now, on that note, because I really do want everybody to feel relaxed and at home, this is a Gladys free zone. This is our space. Anybody who bullies or shames anyone in the chat will be immediately booted. I hope it goes without saying that you can't name call or fat shame people here, but we now know that we're all on the same page. So, all right, I think that feels like more than enough time, right? We're going to send out a replay. So if somebody misses the first bit, they can always just watch it again later. I'm Charlotte. I'm a podcast host and weight loss coach. I live in Canada, but I've got listeners in 108 countries. And my guide to getting started for the last time has helped thousands of people around the world learn how to start effectively and efficiently losing weight and change their relationship with food. I was an overweight kid. I became obese as a teenager. And by the time I was 24, I was over 300 pounds. My heaviest weight was 338. And I think I tried absolutely everything I could think of and afford to lose weight. But no matter what I did, I just kept gaining. I spent just under 2.5 years losing 201 pounds with a calorie deficit and intermittent fasting. And I kept it off for 9.5 years. Then kind of life went off the rails. Sean and I lost our first 3 pregnancies, but I gained weight and it was a really tough period. We now have 3 beautiful sons. And by the time the last one got here, I'd put about 115 pounds back on. And then I almost died a bunch. It was a whole big thing. I spent 5 months in the hospital and had to do things like relearn how to walk and sit. I lost all of one organ and a sizable chunk of another one. But I came out the other side of it pretty much consumed with needing to do something to help other people, to make my second chance worth something. It started with my first Instagram account and my early one-on-one clients. Then I built my website and I launched the podcast. And now there's the cookbook and the YouTube channel and the weight loss workbook and the program. And there's another cookbook coming out this year. I've definitely been trying to do as much as I can. I know that I'm technically supposed to do this whole big introduction to me thing here, but we've got a lot to go over. Your time is precious. And I've got a whole podcast where I share more about myself and my journey through weight loss and the whole almost dying thing. Today is about you and making sure you get off on the best possible footing. And if you've already started, let's streamline it and make sure that you're focusing your time and energy on things that are actually going to help you lose the weight. Now, if you already have the guide, you'll be familiar with the concepts of spread, sprinkle, pour, and JLOI. And if you don't have it, no problem. You'll be able to grab your copy and it's still free. It will always be free as soon as we're done here and the email goes out. When we were planning today, I wanted to find just the shortest distance between 2 points. I wanted to give you the pieces of information that are going to make the biggest difference the fastest. Not just because that's how you'll lose the most weight, but because it's so encouraging. One of the biggest pieces of this puzzle is finding ways to keep yourself going. And one of the best ways to do that is to make it as easy as you can. I believe that when it comes to weight loss, it's critical that you meet yourself where you are. Changing too much too fast isn't a strategy that works long term, if at all. And this chatter that you need to completely overhaul what you eat if you want to lose weight is total nonsense. Meet yourself where you are and eat what you want, just less of it. The first part is absolutely as important as the second part, and I'm going to break them both down. One is the abstract part, the mindset part, and the other is the concrete part. That's the strategy. We're going to do that bit first because that's JLOI, just less of it. The only way to lose weight is to be in a calorie deficit. The best way to get yourself into a calorie deficit is to keep eating the foods you know and love, just less of it. Don't try to reinvent the wheel in your kitchen at the same time you're trying to do something as difficult as lose a significant amount of weight. You can't lose weight without a deficit. So obviously you have to eat just less of something. Why shouldn't it be the foods you like to eat? But there's more to it than that. And this is where the abstract comes into play. You have to keep telling yourself you can eat whatever you want, because it's when you start to feel deprived that you start to give up and give in, and you fall off whatever diet wagon you got on this time. We've established that you have to eat less to lose weight, and that's enough of a deprivation without taking away the foods you use to comfort, cope, and reward yourself. Don't make it worse by turning away from your favorite way to deal with things. Losing a lot of weight isn't about the food. It's about your relationship with food. If you don't change that part, it's an awful lot harder to succeed. And success involves being able to keep the weight off too. Whatever you're doing has to be something that you can do for long enough to get to your goal weight, and then you need to be able to stay there. If you've done nothing along the way to do something about the real issue, your underlying relationship with food, you're extremely likely to end up with the 85% who gain their weight back. You have to tell yourself you can eat whatever you want, just less of it, so that you can keep going. You also need to do it so you've got the mental time and space to do the work of changing your overall relationship with food. If you're always thinking about what you're eating and you're focused on something like your carb count, you don't have the time to think about what's actually going on when you're reaching for the cupcakes. You're too busy focusing on the fact that you can't have them and wishing that you didn't want them. There's too much food noise for there to be anything else. You can still have the cupcakes. You just can't have as many as you used to. Now, I'm not trying to oversimplify things. I know exactly how complicated this is. I'm saying that focusing on the food is the oversimplification. It's misdirection because you're focusing on the wrong things. You need to make the food as easy as possible so you can focus on the more complicated issues that lie behind weight. And that's what we're going to do right now. That's what today's worksheets are for. I want to take the guesswork out of it and make eating whatever you want, just less of it, as simple as we can. Because drinking the same shake at every meal or cutting out entire food groups isn't actually making things simpler. It's making them harder because it's not what you're used to and it's not what you actually want to eat. You need to keep eating what you actually want to eat. So how do you do that and still lose weight? That's the JLOI part. And you're going to get a handle on it with strategies like spread, sprinkle, pour. When you get your email later on, there will be a set of worksheets just for you to make executing JLOI as simple as we can so you can get down to the real business of losing weight. Simple is the key word. Losing weight isn't easy, but a far easier way to do it is to eat the stuff you want, but eat incrementally less of it so you can cut enough calories to get yourself to a 500 calorie a day deficit and lose weight. Taking this approach makes it a whole lot easier. In the guide, I call this concept low-hanging fruit. It's tip number 3. And it's called that because things you spread, sprinkle, or pour tend to be calorie dense. And they're one of the easiest things to cut without cutting your overall satisfaction too. That makes these kinds of changes sustainable. What you're eating has to be satisfying, or you're not going to be able to keep going. Think about the things that you add to food, right? Butter, mayonnaise, cheese, almonds, salad dressings, syrups, and gravies. These are all perfectly lovely things. They also have a boatload of calories in pretty small amounts of them. I don't know about you, but they're also definitely things I had a real tendency to overindulge in. I love butter and mayo, but they're 100 calories a tablespoon each. I practically drank salad dressing and syrup. There isn't much I couldn't dip in, Thousand Islands or ranch dressing. But well, both of those, they can be up to 120 calories for a couple of tablespoons. But it's not like I ever just used a couple of tablespoons. That didn't happen. And I knew I was using too much. I knew it was a lot, but I didn't really know how much I was actually using until I measured it out. And then I was stunned, especially with salad dressing. And that's the thing. I wasn't going to go into this today, and I'm not going to do a deep dive, but this is where you need something I call the 3A way: awareness, acknowledgement, accountability. You can't change what you can't see. So until you know how much salad dressing you're using now, and salad dressing is just shorthand for whatever you happen to be spreading, sprinkling, or pouring, until you know how much you're using, you really can't do anything about it. So you need to make yourself aware of how much you're using, which can be really scary. I did not like finding out there were 900 plus calories of salad dressing in my bowl. Not happy. Clearly, I can still see myself standing in the kitchen of our first apartment when I did that math. It's just a moment all frozen in time in my brain. Awareness can be tough. Acknowledgement is too. And accountability is the part where you do something about it. So it's not necessarily easier, but it can be super empowering because instead of wallowing in it like I almost did, you have the information you need to do something about it. I mean, you could try and just start using a small, a normal amount of salad dressing. I couldn't. There was no way I was going to find a salad with a couple of tablespoons of dressing as satisfying as the one that I was used to having with a cup and a half of dressing, which I learned is 16 to 24 tablespoons. Yeah. And when you're not satisfied, you just end up eating something else, which reverses any benefit from having less dressing in the first place. You don't go from 16 tablespoons to 2. It's not sustainable. That's anything but a small incremental change. But let's say that you're using 8 tablespoons of syrup on your pancakes. Cool. That's a fair bit. And it's 240 calories. At 30 calories a tablespoon, each one you cut gets you closer to that 500 calorie a day deficit. And several small changes like this add up in a hurry. I know it's really tempting, so tempting to make big sweeping changes because you think they'll get you there faster. They won't get you anywhere if you burn out. And it doesn't matter if you've got 60 pounds to lose or 237. It's the small incremental changes that are going to get you across the finish line. Don't drop down to 2 tablespoons of syrup. Drop to 7 or 7.5. Then drop down by another tablespoon or half. Meet yourself where you are and then make your changes slowly so that you're giving yourself a chance to get used to the small changes. Now, the worksheets I developed specifically for you today are designed to take you through making those changes as simply as possible while giving you structure so you're not guessing and you're not worrying about what your next move is going to be. These worksheets are deliberately as straightforward and simple as I could make them. I tested more complex versions and they just weren't as effective. The easier something is to use, the more likely we are to use it. This first page is about general awareness and brainstorming. You can use it in a couple of different ways, but the most straightforward way is just to write down how much of the calorie dense things that you add to food you're using now. What's the caloric cost? My 2.5 tablespoons of spreadable butter are 250 calories. The cup of mozzarella cheese I sprinkled onto my microwave pizza is 320, and the 16 tablespoons of salad dressing I poured are 960. This is your awareness page. The next 3 pages are where you're going to find acknowledgement and accountability. You've got a page each for spread, sprinkle, and pour. And these pages are where you can plot out your small incremental changes. If we take a look all the way over to pour, you'll see what I mean with the salad dressing. A tablespoon is 60 calories. So you can see where I initially dropped to 14 tablespoons and then 12. The more of something I was using, the bigger my initial jumps could be. As I got used to having less, but had fewer tablespoons left to cut, I started by cutting 1 tablespoon at a time. So when you're dealing with smaller amounts to start with, you cut by smaller amounts until you're left with a reasonable amount that's still satisfying. That's what I had to do with the cheese and the butter. I cut the cheese back by 1/8 of a cup and I cut the butter back by half tablespoons. But I didn't keep going until I was using virtually nothing. It was important to me that I still felt like I was adding the extra cheese, but I did get used to having less than I had when I was at my heaviest. Same with the butter. I never cut it out entirely. I just cut it back incrementally. And you can do this part too. Excuse me. Now, we're about to get the Q&A started. I told you I didn't want to mess about or waste anybody's time tonight. But before we do that, I am going to spend just a very few minutes telling you about my program, because if you find this kind of structure helpful, having the guesswork removed so you can focus on the aspect of weight loss that we didn't really start to explore today, the abstract mindset work you need to do to change your underlying relationship with food. Maybe that's what I'll do my next one of these little online parties about. But if you find that helpful, you might be a good fit for the program. Today, I wanted to give you some very tangible tools so that you can start to lose weight right now and start to build up your confidence in your overall ability to do this, because you can do this. None of the solutions for weight loss out there are working. It's all fad diets and solutions that actually cause more problems than the one they're designed to fix. Obesity rates keep rising despite the billions of dollars going into the diet industry every year. And there's an 85% recidivism rate. 85% of everybody who loses weight, no matter how they do it, gains it back within 5 years. And on average, they end up 25% heavier than they were when they started. That's not a solution. We need something new. So I spent years developing the program, and it's entirely different from anything else out there. I've been using it now with my one-on-one clients for the last 5 years, and I've recently moved it online so it can help as many people as possible. The program is anything but a quick fix or a fad. It's a 53-week-long program, and it's very intense. I needed a way to work through a super complicated issue, so I broke it down. 7 pillars, each one taking on a different facet of your relationship with food. You start by looking at what you're eating. You learn to get a handle on the calories and the changes you'll need to make to get yourself into a deficit. And you learn to look for the underlying emotion you're eating, because there's always a reason. Emotional eating is a very real thing. And most of us, when you get right down to it, are eating to comfort, reward, or cope with an emotion. If you're going to understand your underlying relationship with food and get to the bottom of the whole comfort, reward, or cope thing, you're going to need to take a look at the way who you eat with, when you eat, and where you eat are impacting them, because they are, whether you're aware of it or not. You also need to look at the impact how you eat is having, but that pillar is a little different because it doesn't just look at things like how you actually eat your food. It's also where I've loaded a lot of the quick tips and strategies I used when I lost 201 pounds and more than 100 the second time around. The last pillar is what now? The whole program is a totally new approach to weight loss. But what now is 12 full weeks getting you ready to see it through to your goal weight and making sure that you stay there. 85% gain their weight back. It's my life's mission to do something about that number, and the program is my solution. What now is a massive part of that. Each of the 53 weeks, you get 2 videos, one that gives you that week's lesson and one that explains how you use that week's workbook, because you get one of those every week too. You'll also get a bullet point summary of the lesson itself. And during the course of the 53 weeks, you'll receive over 800 pages of checklists, written exercises, and tables like the ones I showed you today to tackle the concrete side to changing your relationship with food, as well as doing the more abstract mindset work. The program isn't for everyone. It's not about doing the surface work to drop pounds. I have no interest in that. It's about doing the non-food related parts of all of this at the same time so that you can get it all off and keep it all off. I want to make the food part as straightforward as I can so you've got the mental and emotional space to do the underlying work. Um, and I just want to ensure that you can get it all off and keep it all off so you can live the rest of your life and leave obesity behind you. The program is available now. And because of the way I've set it up, you can start anytime. You don't have to wait for a big splashy launch or anything like that. It's ready when you are. Because you've joined me today, for the next week, I'm offering everybody 10% off and will include the code in your email. Now, I am not a fan. Most of you probably know this. I'm not a fan of testimonials, but I know how important it is that you hear from the people who have worked with me. The ones I've already, who've already helped leave obesity behind. And this is the part of the webinar where I'm supposed to show you clips of my clients talking about the difference my program has made in their lives. But I don't do pay for play. Working with me is never conditional on having to show your pictures or give testimonials. I think that's gross. I also always feel like asking for testimonials is fishing for compliments, and your weight loss journey is about you, not me. So I guess you should know that going into all of this too. If you decide that the program is right for you, you will never have to give a testimonial or share your pictures with anyone. I'm also not going to ambush you for my podcast. I do get testimonials though. And if people want to send them in or post them on my social media, I don't stand in their way. Nothing makes me happier than hearing that the work that I'm doing is helping. So I am sharing some testimonials with you. I'm not doing names. I'm not doing anything that could identify somebody. It's too private. I had so many feelings of guilt and shame when I was fat and when I was losing my weight. And I never want to make anybody else feel that way, let alone in public. I really just don't think it's right. I obviously can't read all of these. They're moving pretty quickly. I just grabbed 50 or so of them out of a folder and we threw them up on screen. I will awkwardly try. I can make my way through a couple of them for you. As much as I hate anything that feels self-aggrandizing or like I'm bragging or something, I'm also incredibly proud of the work I've done and the difference that I've made so far. If showing you the way I've helped others will help give you the trust to let me show you how to get your weight off and keep it off too, then I've just hopped on the struggle bus and we're giving it a try here. I'm down 83 pounds in 8 months. I'm down 12 pounds in 5 weeks. 30 pounds down. I've been told my whole life I had to exercise to lose weight. I tried it your way and I'm down 12 pounds. I'm already down 16 pounds and my relationship with food is changing from 328 to 312 in just 3 weeks. I've already lost 20 pounds and I haven't done a single exercise. Down 117 pounds, only 10 to go. I've lost weight before, but I'm at it again. 12 pounds down, 90 to go. Thank you 1,000 times over. I'm down 17 pounds in 11 weeks. It's unbelievable. I'm eating only what I love. I don't feel panicked about trying to take all this weight off quickly. My mental health is so much better. I feel like I jumped off the merry-go-round, not binging or starving. 15 more pounds. 3 months in, 21 pounds down, 35 pounds down, 59 pounds since May. It's been a week and I'm down 5 pounds. I've been going strong, and in 7 months, I'm down 75 pounds with 55 to go. 103 pounds are down now. I started 2 weeks ago. I'm down 7 pounds. I've lost 10 pounds in the last 3 weeks, and I actually stopped exercising. The only thing I changed was my diet. I just saw a number on the scale I haven't seen for 22 years. I lost 12 pounds in 8 weeks. I've lost over 70 pounds and haven't stepped foot in a gym or restricted myself to a diet I can't maintain. I've gotten my confidence back and I owe it to a system that actually works. I'm down 85 pounds and I've just got 25 left. I had 50 pounds to lose. Now it's just 40. All right. I'm going to grab my phone here so that I can take a look at some of the questions that have come in. Okay. Thank you all so much for going through all of that part of the presentation. And now let's take a look at the questions. I've just been dying to get to this part too. So we're going to jump right in. I'm not going to put anybody on the spot. I don't think that's necessarily fair, especially when a replay of this is going to be sent out. You're going to notice me looking away. That's so I can see the questions that you guys have been putting in the chat and the ones that you have been upvoting. Okay, which app do I use to track? I'm a really big fan of MyFitnessPal, but the free version. I don't think you need to buy, I'm sure they won't like me saying that, but I don't think you need to buy the premium version at all because you just need to track your calories. Macros First is another one I've tried and I've liked. Basically, anything with a barcode scanner, that's going to cut your time. You also want something that's going to allow you to input recipes and meals so that you're pushing as few buttons as possible. Like if you eat the same breakfast every day, the best thing you can do is enter that as a meal. And then you just hit your breakfast button and your coffee, your eggs, your whatever, they all just get entered right away. Yeah. Okay. Let's grab another one here. What do we have? How do I get more protein and fiber in each day? I'm always logging calories on the app and it's been a struggle. It can be really hard. Of the two, and I think you guys will likely know this from some of the recent podcast episodes, I would focus more on fiber. It's not a really popular answer with a lot of people, but honestly, I think you'll do yourself a lot more good if you can increase your fiber. Get the recommended amount of protein, certainly, which is 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram that you weigh. But with regard to fiber, that's something that you can like just, sprinkle flaxseed on your breakfast. There are a bunch of little things you can do to try to incorporate more of that. And I think the more fiber you're able to incorporate, the bigger a difference you're going to feel just because of the way that fiber really helps with weight loss. What do I recommend calorie deficit per day? I typically recommend 500 calories a day less than your maintenance TDEE. The easiest way to find that information is to hop onto an online TDEE calculator, punch in your stats. It's going to give you your maintenance number. Take 500 from that, and that's your best bet. I wouldn't necessarily start there, especially since most of us don't actually start at our TDEEs. So when I was at my heaviest, my TDEE was 3,500 calories a day. I was probably eating between 4,000 and 4,500 calories a day. So I already had to drop what I was eating by 1,000 calories just to get to my maintenance TDE and then another 500 calories on top of that. So I really do recommend making those shifts gradually. Don't jump. If you're at 4,500 calories a day, don't try to jump down to 2,200 or whatever your TDEE is. It's not sustainable. Slowly claw it back until you get there and then until you get into your deficit. I know it's frustrating. I know you want to see the weight coming off as fast as you can, as soon as you can. But the reality is if you do it in a sustainable way, you're going to be able to keep going. It's not the next, couple of months that you're worried about. I'm more concerned about what happens 6 to 8 months from now. And if you don't get off on the right footing, it's going to be that much harder to keep going. Okay. If I'm not answering these, giving you the answer that you feel you need, please just go on ahead and punch them into the chat. Oh, this is a great question. It's not a silly question at all. I know this is a silly question, but what do you do when food is your best friend? How do I break that relationship? That's so hard. I've got a 53-week long program addressing that question. Food was one of my best friends too. You don't walk away from the friendship. You change it. The boundaries shift. You build a new friendship with food. I never tell anybody that our goal is to stop emotional eating. Or turn away from your best friend food. I don't think that is a realistic goal. You want to change it. You want to make it more manageable. It's a grieving process. It takes time. The slower you shift it, the easier it'll be. Like if you just walk away from all your favorite foods on day one, I don't, it's really not the most sustainable approach. You're better off to try to incorporate things and to try to hang on to your best friend, just set some new boundaries with her. If that, I hope that helps. Um, oh, yeah, the poor, I have trouble with his coffee creamer. Yeah, I need to measure that, but I've been afraid. I was terrified to measure that salad dressing, and it wasn't the cheese was another thing I was really afraid to measure out. Awareness is going to set you free. You can't change what you can't see. So I know it's terrifying, but honestly, you're better off knowing. And it might not be as bad as you think. And even if it is, okay. But now you know, right? So you can start to shift it back. And with coffee creamer, I'm not a coffee drinker, to be clear. Um, but I know how a lot of people feel really strongly about coffee, especially about that morning cup of coffee. So if you're coffee creamer, if you're only talking a few like less than 100 calories, but if you cut out that creamer, your coffee's going to suck, and then your whole day is going to suck, and you're going to be miserable, and you're just going to be thinking about how badly you wish you'd had your coffee the way that you like your coffee. Find the calories somewhere else. Keep the creamer and find the calories in something else. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. It's not worth it. It's just not worth it. Okay. I'm petrified of gaining my weight back. I lost 60 and still have 40 to 50 to go. You talk about losing weight, and I've used so many of those, and they help me in my journey and have gotten me over my humps. But what happens when we get there? How do we keep it off and not gain it back? I actually just finished recording an episode for the podcast. It's going to come out in 2 weeks, and it's my 9 tips for maintaining your weight, because that's it's a question that I see a lot. The key to maintaining your weight in a lot of ways is the way that you lose it. It's having the habits and the strategies and the mindset in place so that once you get to your goal weight, it's it's easier because of the way you've led yourself into it, but you need to use a lot of the same techniques that you used to get your weight off. Um, for me, it's always the 3A way. You need to stay aware of what you're doing. You need to acknowledge what you're doing. Like you have to keep your eyes open. Some people hit their goal weights and they're just like, well, I guess I can throw my scale out forever. I kind of feel like that's a bit of a mistake because if you don't know where you're at, you can start to slide. And when you've lost a significant amount of weight, it's that much easier to put the weight back on. Um, yeah, I've got an hour-long podcast coming out on this one in 2 weeks because I know it's an important topic for you guys. So it's coming. It's coming. But yeah, the not gaining it back part, how you lose it has a lot to do with that. There are certain foods that I just can't eat less of. So at the moment, I'm totally avoiding them. I don't know why these things trigger me to eat more and more. How do I work out why? Will I just have to live without them? It depends on you. I don't think you will. I think that once you start to get other aspects of your relationship with food under control, you might be able to have them if you have some boundaries in place. Like I had a thing for those oatmeal cream cookies, the ones that come in like the cellophane pack. I could eat an entire box of them. Um, I had to set a boundary where I would only let myself have so many. And then when I couldn't, I did go a period where I didn't buy those cookies at all. But there's something that I can have now, and I don't get the urge to eat the whole box. I can be happier with one or two. And a lot of that is being mindful about what you're eating and being present with what you're eating. You really have to pay attention to the food. And the things that set me off on binges or make me want to eat more of that food, or I have gateway foods that lead to other foods if I eat them. Um, Part of the way that I keep that in line is by knowing that I can have it if I want it, um, but I don't need it, if that's helpful. Um, I never tell myself I can't have anything because I find it sets off a spiral, right? Then I just end up fixating on it, and then the food noise takes over, and that becomes kind of all I want. Um, what do we have here? How do I keep staying positive when stalled months are slowly gaining back a few pounds? Saying don't give up isn't enough. It isn't enough anymore. Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. Um, you, it's not about not giving up. It's about staying focused on the goal. right? You already know how badly you want this and you know what it's going to take to get there. So sometimes it's getting your head to a place where you just accept it. It's what you have to do to get it done, right? It's a non-negotiable task. Um, yeah, sorry. That one, yeah, it's so hard when you're stalled and it sometimes trying something new will help jumpstart it, especially if it's something that maybe you can feel a little bit excited about that approach because it isn't something that you've tried before. And that can help push you through it. Sometimes that will help. I also have several episodes on breaking through plateaus and things as well. Um, does my program offer accountability? The program itself is online, it's self-contained, and it's purely self-driven. The accountability piece is coming. Okay, I'll announce it publicly. I'm going to be starting an accountability membership group, a monthly membership for members of my program, and then just for the people generally. And that will involve some accountability. But no, since I shut down my one-on-one coaching so that I could move things online and try to get this out to more people, I had to stop with my one-on-one accountability because there just aren't enough hours in the day and my wait list was in the hundreds. So unfortunately not. But that is, I'm working on a plan for that. And it's going to be a safe space and a space that is away from social media. So it will be fully private and fully contained because it's important to me that it's a safe place. Any advice for diabetic people? I don't give medical advice just as a general rule because I'm not a doctor and I don't think it's the right thing to do. I'm diabetic. I have a secondary diabetes though, so it's a bit of a weird one. My advice for diabetics is always to listen to what your team is telling you, follow their advice. Um, in your case, you may need to track things like your carbs and your sugars to make sure that you're getting those under control. And I think you'll find that when you're tracking your calories, if you use an app like MyFitnessPal, it's automatically going to section that off for you. So you're going to know how many grams of each of the macros you've had, and it will individualize things like sodium or sugar as well. I take Monjourno. Does that work with your program? Yeah, I don't see why not. That falls under the category of none of my business. So whatever you've decided with your doctor that you need to do, 100%. What formula do I recommend for calculating your daily calorie needs? I kind of covered this one. I recommend using a TDEE calculator to figure out what your caloric needs are and then subtracting 500 and working your way back to that. Yeah. Oh, why is having gastric bypass then gaining back all but 37 pounds shy of the highest weight to now being on Monjourno? Do I feel like this is another quick fix? I'm scared if I stop Monjourno, I will gain it back. How does the cycle change? Yeah, that's a tough one. As I mentioned, that 85% recidivism rate just won't go away. And it applies to everything from shakes and surgeries to pills and shots to calorie deficits, keto, carnivore, name a diet. They all have the same recidivism rate. That's that's kind of why I do what I do. It's not about the food, right? It's the relationship with food. So you need to start taking a look at the emotional responses and at your mindset. There's so much going on. Um, with trying to change all of that. It's so hard. And I get the fear too. It's so scary because once you've lost it, the last thing you want to do is gain it back and have to lose it again. You change the cycle by changing your mindset. You change the cycle by changing your relationship with food and by changing the way you look at and interact with food. Okay. I like to cook and struggle with calorie counts of what I cook. I know of recipe builders that will give you the calories of the whole recipe or let you divide it up into servings. But do you know of any that will count out the calories per cup ounce? Yeah, I struggle with this too. So the way I do that, um, I do full batch recipes. And I know it's a pain. You can build them out in something like MyFitnessPal. I typically just use a pen and a pad of paper, and then I get a final weight on it. And then I divide it up accordingly. I know it's a pain, but so far, not that I know of, there might be. And if anybody in the chat knows of an app that can do that, that can divide it then up by the calories into the individual units, that would be amazing. And I would love to know that. But at this point, I don't know of one that's capable of doing that. And I really wish there was. Um, can I talk a little bit about how I navigated clothing size changes throughout my weight loss? Definitely not silly. Um, no, it's not silly at all. I navigated it by thrifting a lot, by buying stuff that was stretchy or had elasticized waist, things like that. I wore baggy clothes a fair bit, and I just slowly scaled things back and down. And then as I got closer to my goal, I would, be more excited and want to buy more things. Um, Slowly, thrifting. Yeah, that's the way I'd go. Clearance. I love clearance sales. I just made it as easy for myself as I could because I don't like wasting the clothes either or the money, right? It just seems so wasteful. How much does my program cost? The program is $53 a week. So it's 53 weeks at $53, and I think that's 2809, I think. Yeah, that is the cost of the program. I was told the only way to lose weight and live was to amputate part of my stomach with weight loss surgery. I lost 165 pounds, but never got under 200. Close, but no dice. I feel like I'm doomed. Can I still lose weight and get to a healthy weight? I've gained just under 100 pounds back. You are not doomed. You're not doomed. No, that'll make me cry. You can still lose weight. You definitely can still lose weight. It's not over. I'm I'm really sorry that that has happened. Um, and you're not, I hear from people in this situation or in a very similar situation all the time. Um, it's got to be so frustrating. Yeah, it's not a solution, right? You definitely can. I think that's the main crux of this question. Can you still lose weight and get to a healthy weight? Yes, you can. Yes, you definitely can. Okay. Do we have, oh, sorry, keep the questions coming, guys. I'm still moving through them here. When I fail and overeat, I beat myself up. How do you get back up again? That's a great question. Um, you don't have a choice, right? You accept you have to have a singular focus and accept that you have no choice. The only option is to keep going. Um, you get back up by telling yourself that, yeah, you fell down, but you know you can do this. And you just keep trying as hard as it can be. And you have to find those little wins and celebrate them. So, okay, all right, you fell over and you overate and you're feeling really bad about yourself. Can we quantify the overeating? Because I found sometimes that helps. So when I was doing my one-on-one coaching, I might have a client who was just dragging themselves over the coals because they'd gone on this binge. But then we would actually like look at the binge and see how many calories were involved. And sometimes it wasn't as bad as they thought. Sometimes it was. Sometimes it was worse. But the important thing was that they had a baseline that they could move forward from next time. So, yeah, you overate today. And you know what? You're probably going to overeat again, but you can do better next time, even if it's only slightly better. It doesn't, you can't get all the way there in one hop, right? It's a whole bunch of little incremental steps. And the better you get at not beating yourself up, the easier it will get. You didn't fail. You're not letting anybody down. You're not even letting yourself down. You're learning and you're going to keep going, right? You know you can continue to move forward. So you tell yourself, I'm going to do better next time. I have a baseline. I know where I went wrong. Sometimes that can help too if you can figure out what kicked off the overeating. So it's something you can avoid next time. And then that can give you a feeling of control over the situation that you felt like you didn't have when you were eating. You can put that control in place after the fact and then carry that or let that help carry you through. Okay. Am I missing? Have we got any more questions? Activities and exercise. do what you like. Do what you feel comfortable with. If you're a podcast listener, you will know that I'm very fond of telling people that you don't have to exercise to lose weight. I lost all of my weight with no exercise at all. I go to the gym now because I'm beating back muscle atrophy and I'm trying to build up some strength. But that's it. I don't go to the gym to lose weight. Um, Find something you like, whatever that may be, whether it's pickleball or walking or swimming. If you have, if it's something you're comfortable with doing or something you feel excited about doing, you're more likely to keep doing it. But don't ever put the pressure on yourself that you have to do it. You don't. You don't have to exercise at all to lose weight. Exercise doesn't burn as many calories as a lot of us think they do, which is a problem because mentally you can go, okay, well, I worked out today. I deserve to have XYZ. When the reality is that that hour of swimming you did only burned like, 120 calories or whatever, and you don't have room for the extra Big Mac or whatever it is um, that you were considering reaching for. Do I have any good apps or plans I followed for a gym routine or weightlifting? Nope, I don't. I'm sorry. That's not my lane. And I just don't uh yeah, I don't know anything about it, so I wouldn't want to give you any advice. I have what I do in the gym looks a lot more like physiotherapy because of the muscle atrophy. It's not like a normal workout routine or anything. And yeah, totally not my lane, so I don't know. I do know there are some really good videos on YouTube, especially if you're looking for exercise to help, again, to help rebuild your body. But if you needed like sitting exercises, there are some really, really good videos on YouTube that can walk you through exercise while sitting or through all different kinds of exercises or activities. Have I gotten to the point where throwing down a lot of food isn't appealing anymore? Yes. I'm consistently in a calorie deficit and still feel like it's in the back of my head that I would like to just go wild. Yeah, I get that. Even if I know it would make me uncomfortable and not get me to my goals. Yeah, it gets easier. Honestly, it does. It gets easier and it feels like it won't. And we're all so focused on getting to our goal weight that it's like, oh, what happened? The mental changes do come afterwards. It can sometimes take a while. You also don't have the capacity, right? Like I just can't eat the way I did at 200 pounds or 300 pounds. I just can't physically pack that in. So a binge for me now probably looks more like a regular meal when I was super big. I worry that my 500 calorie deficit may have to dip dangerously low at some point. Yeah, I hear that. I'm short. And I really struggle. You see a lot of weight loss influencers who are like anything less than 1,200 calories and you're eating like a child, which I find really offensive because my TDEE is only 1,700 calories at this point in this body. And I'm 1 pound away from being medically overweight. So for me to drop into a deficit, I do need to drop to 1,200 calories a day. What I found though is as someone who used to eat 4,000 to 4,500, because I made that shift slowly, it was that much easier to do. It's like what I was advising you to do when you're working down to your maintenance TDEE minus 500, right? You want to do that gradually so it doesn't feel like you've been thrown into the deep end of the pool. You don't have that. Well, yesterday I ate 4,500 calories. Today I have to eat 1,200. That is I don't think that's really feasible for anybody. Um, is my program one-on-one coaching or group session? It is neither. So it is a self-directed course. So every week there's a website that it's hosted on, and every week you'll get access to a new module. There are 53 of them. So if you signed up on a Monday, every Monday you're going to wake up to an email telling you your new content has been released, and there'll be two new videos for you, actually. Your new workbooks will be up and ready. Your new summaries will be up and ready, and you'll have access to that at any point. Well, you have it for life, frankly, because a lot of people like to go back through and rewatch the videos because depending on where you are in the program, you might glean something different from it. Um, but yeah, no, and it's not group session. That sort of group session stuff will come into play when I get the membership up and running, which will be happening in the next month or so. And then I'll be able to do more of the group style stuff. Um, but no, it's just you. It's you and your screen. So you can pause it, you can take notes, you can watch it as many times as you want. It's just there for you. Okay. Sonia, did you have any more questions for me? Sorry, guys. Thank you for bearing with me. As for my goal weight, I'm plugging in a portion at a time. I need to lose 70. So I put that on the app that I want to drop 15 or so. Good idea or bad idea? Um, I, hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. I would see what the caloric difference was between punching in your actual goal weight and punching that in. I would also be very tempted to strictly go with the TDEE part. Um, because your app might do it, if you want to lose 2 pounds a week, if you want to lose, no, go with your TDEE minus 500 and work your way to get there, and then see what happens before you start juggling with how many pounds it is you're telling your app you want to lose. Um, that I think would be, I hope that is a helpful answer. Um, Is once a week the best way to weigh yourself when you're trying to lose weight? Yes, it sure is. Yes, it absolutely, absolutely is. Oh, I love that question. This is one of my favorite bells to ring. Yes, please, if you're losing weight, do not weigh yourself more than once a week. Don't do it. Please don't do it. I am begging you not to do it. Anything more than once a week, and you are going to drive yourself insane. Anything less, and you don't have the control that you need. That scale is going to go up and down day to day. It's all based on, the salt intake the day before and whether you've been to the bathroom. There are so many factors they can once a week. Pick a day and stick with it. I drove myself nuts in the first little while when I was like, I'd be on the scale 2, 3 times a day. It's maddening. I threw mine out and I took it to my mother, and I just started going on the one on my mother-in-law's house because I was there every Sunday for dinner. Um, that's, yeah, once a week. Perfect question. Once a week. And what's in my Disruptor book? Can it be used by itself or only in your program? It can totally be used by itself. It's very helpful if you have the program, and it has a lot of the ideas in it. A lot of people who do my program buy themselves a copy because they just have a streamlined way of doing it. But no, you can totally use it on its own. You don't need to be in the program to use or benefit from Disruptor. I'll show you. This is handy. Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to jump out of your screen there. This is Disruptor. That's my weight loss workbook. So it has pages that look like that. And it's 53 weeks long. You've got weekly weigh-ins. There are areas to scratch off your pounds lost. There's a journaling and a note side on the other page. There's areas to punch in micro and macro goals. There's reminders to take your pictures and your measurements. There's some essays in there. There's a getting started check. Can you see any of that? There's a getting started checklist. Ooh, what else is in here? There's a lot in here. Micro goals and macro goals and how to fill those out. And yeah, you can find this one on Amazon. There's reminders to do your measurements every month and spots to put in the rest of your goals. Okay, how often should you recalculate your caloric intake needs? We're down to about 4 minutes, guys, so please feel free, get in your last minute questions. How often should you recalculate? About every 10 pounds? About every 10 pounds. If you're using an app like MyFitnessPal, it's going to do that for you automatically as you enter your weekly weigh-ins, which is ideal because it's just going to shave off like 2 calories and then 5 calories, and you're not going to feel it at all. We want these drops to be as gradual as we can possibly make them. Okay. What else? Sorry, guys. I just want to make sure I haven't missed anything. Feel free to punch in if I've missed you, but I think we might have it here. Oh my goodness. Okay. I think I got to everybody. I hope so. Um, if I missed anybody, I will make sure that I get them in the special podcast episode. I'll also keep all of these and I'll try to go deeper into them for you. in an episode that's coming up. It's going to be episode number 77. And the only reason that I know that is because it's the first free episode in the queue after we have our series of 9 lists that I'm doing. Once that's over, the last one of those is 76. So episode 77, I'm going to try and get more into this for you guys, and give you some more details. But I want to remind you too, you don't ever have to ask me questions in public. Please don't feel pressured to do that. Just message me privately and I'll get back to you. And I'll get back to you like personally, and then I'll take it onto the podcast if I feel like I need to elaborate on it anymore. Um, I can't believe how amazing this has been. You guys have been so supportive, and I really can't thank each and every one of you enough for joining me today. I also really want to thank Leslie for all of her incredible help and Sonia for getting all these questions to me. And I'm really looking forward to hearing from you. So please send in any questions that you have. Don't ever be afraid to reach out. Please don't. Um, and until I next see you guys next time, keep trying, keep tracking, don't be intimidated, and don't give up. You've totally got this.